Having a quorum, the HUD's committee will come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy.
Here.
Alderman Boyd.
That's me.
Or it's Jeffrey.
Oh.
Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Kotar.
Here.
Alderman Ogilvy.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Here.
Alderman Bosley.
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Here.
Chairman Rhodey.
Present.
President Reed. 7 present.
Okay, having a quorum, will come to order. For the record, Alderman Boyd and Alderman Boyd, as in Jeffrey, and Alderwoman Davis had asked to be excused for their necessary absence. The alderman from the 7th is is obligated to leave here in a few minutes, so he has requested that we at least record a vote. So the alderman from the 7th, if you want to be recognized, I'll recognize you for the purpose of putting board bill number 103 before us.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we take up board bill number 103. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Kennedy.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Kotar.
Aye.
Alderman Ogilvy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Chairman Rhodey.
Aye.
And President Reed. 7 aye votes.
Okay, before us is board bill number 103. We'll recognize the sponsor, primary sponsor at this time, Alderman Bosley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, committee members. Board Bill 103 is pretty cut and dry. It is just the city's LCR, well, the city is just, we are condemning the NGA site, the 93 acres, so we can give a clear land title to the federal government by November the 4th. So that's, that in a nutshell. Of course, we all have been working on the NGA for a long time, and it's definitely within the city's best interest to make sure that we can deliver a clean title in the designated time frame that they would like to have the land. So we have Otis Williams, if you want to just come up and give a small presentation. We have a few maps behind us that outlines the actual NGA site and what this bill is affecting also.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for time to brief you briefly on what the NGA site and why we're here. So as the Alderman indicated, we actually are looking at the 97 acres as opposed to the 93 he mentioned, but 97 acres, the entire site is subject to this bill. And the reason is that we are required by the federal government to ensure that we have a clear title. They would prefer to have a condemnation action to ensure that all liens are removed. The one thing I want to be sure that everybody understands is that we have a clean title at this point. What we are trying to do here is just to ensure that there is an impossibility of a lien being placed against it in the future. And so a couple of things I wanted to share with you is, one is that I wanted everybody to realize that this is the site. So we aren't talking about any other property other than this 97 acres. And the 97 acres is actually owned by LCRAH. Okay, and so the city would be condemning the property that is currently owned by the LCRAH. It does not impact any citizen. Okay. What I wanted to do also was to share with you just a picture that sort of says this is what the site looks like now. Essentially from the date that we first started this action. Why don't I turn it this way? How's that? from the date that first started this action, you can see that we have done a significant amount of work on this site, and that there are no structures on this site at this point. So it's all clear land.
So when is that picture from? Is that from September 11th?
This was from September 11th. We took it yesterday afternoon.
Right.
What I would like to do is to also just, I'm going to pass out a couple of handouts, but this is just for your leisure. I'm not going to go through it, okay? But there is one slide in this that sort of summarizes, if you will, the second slide in that when you get it, it is the reason why we're here. Essentially, this is a $1.75 billion project that is important to the city of St. Louis. And the reason is because at this point, the average salary is now about $98 million, and that the $98,000, and that the income to the city on an annual basis is $3 million. But to the state, it's over $8 million, and there are 3,150 employees that are at this location. So we were able to get the 97 acres, as you've seen, clean, and we will be turning this site over in November of this year to the federal government, which means we will have met all of our requirements. And so with that, I'll answer any questions. In the package, I must say that in this package you will see that there are a lot of stats. That means that we've done a lot of work on this thing. So we started with the, as you can see, with the archaeology, and went through removing all the utilities, all the streets, and just a lot of work. The most significant piece there is that we have moved over almost 800,000 tons of material off of this site.
Alderman Kennedy, any questions?
No questions.
Alderman Kotar, any questions?
Just one. So I understand why we're doing this. Are there any liens currently placed on the properties held by LCRH?
No,
Just a threat of them?
just a threat.
Okay. No further questions.
Alderman Ogilvy.
Thank you. I recall we already consolidated all these parcels, so it's just one parcel at this point?
It is one parcel. That was one of the requirements. So if you recall, there were 551 different parcels, and so the parcels have all been consolidated into one.
And so there's a whole, this is going to authorize eminent domain for the city to potentially utilize eminent domain from LCRAH, but that process couldn't be completed by November 4th. So, but it was the recommendation of the federal government that we initiate that process?
Yes. But the process could be very far along. As you know, that process would, once the board authorizes, would immediately allow the suit to be filed for the judge to then appoint commissioners. Commissioners would meet and then make their recommendations, and at that point, ownership can be obtained.
Okay. And is the date that the transfer to the federal government is happening, is that date firm yet?
That date is pretty firm. We are shooting for November 14th.
November 14th, okay. And then parallel to this, we assume we're going to win in court on the Bank of Washington's actions?
Yes, we always feel that way. So I won't say no. We feel very positive about it. We think that the suit that was filed was frivolous based on the information we have from our attorneys, and so we're moving ahead.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No question.
Alderman Oldenburg.
No questions.
Okay. Having no other questions, is there anyone else who cares, or that you had planned on presenting, or are we?
No.
Okay. Man, we might be out of here in record time. Hearing no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion for Board Bill number 103.
Second.
I move that we adopt Board Bill 103 with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 7th and seconded by the Alderwoman from the...
Previous roll.
It's been a request for previous roll. Hearing no objections, we will consider Board Bill number 103 as heard and passed out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Before we adjourn, if I could just make a little food for thought. I believe everyone has had the opportunity to visit with the folks over at SLDC regarding the incentive map that we've been working on for a long time, and had an opportunity to review the revenue model that we've been using for and continue to refine. The intent is that we'll have a resolution passed back in here, kind of updating the resolution that we'd previously passed. I think it was always our intent to update that as soon as we could get the map done. And I think we're going to probably be, after we pass that, I think we got the city online to go ahead and begin doing a economic development plan. My thought is we'll leave incentives alone for a while and just not even worry, just, not that we're not going to deal with them at some point in the future. It's just that until we complete the economic redevelopment plan, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to keep beating a dead horse. I think we've gone as far as we can on that. I think our next thing is that we ought to give some thought to a couple other possible issues that we can kind of begin exploring and understanding a little bit better. My thought was either community benefit agreements or perhaps affordable housing. No big urgency. Why don't you all kind of mull that over if there's some other topic, but I don't want to go ahead and get too many things going at once. I thought that it's taken us a long time. I took chairman about 4 years ago, and I think we've taken this as far as we logically can until we complete the economic development plan. So I think it's probably appropriate for us to take a look at some other topic that's relevant to our committee. And so if you have any ideas on that or what we should be doing or how we might proceed, feel free to kind of mention it to me and we'll discuss it probably at the next meeting or two. Other than that, I have nothing particular up. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by the second. Now, do we have a previous roll?
Previous round.
Hearing no objection, we're adjourned. Thank you all.